not all of those first 3 soundtracks were fully live recorded productions. I know this because I recognized a little sound from this song. This song tries to do one thing, and one thing only, and that is be the biggest, hugest, giganticest God of War 2 song in the whole soundtrack. This is gonna be perfect. Hi. Question. What if the brutal soundtrack of the God of War trilogy sounded like the brutal music of Doom Eternal? Well, now wait a sec, did I just repeat myself? Let me check the script again here. Okay, yeah, we're going double brutal this time, folks. I, Geoffrey Day, have created something so stupidly angry that if played during the campaign of any God of War game, no matter which level, Kratos would wipe out all of the enemies in an explosion of pure rage and then immediately transform into Pacific Rim Kratos. Yeah, that part was awesome. But before that, 2 things. First, you can use the timestamp below to skip to the final product. And second, this video was brought to you in part by my wonderful patrons. Stick around to the end for credits and info about the benefits. Oh, and third, no, you don't know me from that podcast. I just got a new microphone, that's all. Speaking of things that are great, who do you call when you want someone to draw a perfect YouTube thumbnail? You guessed it, it's Kina. Her links are in the description below, so be sure to go follow her. Alright, let's get on topic. Did you know that the God of War trilogy from the mid-2000s had not just one composer, but as many as 7? Yeah, I didn't either, and that's 6 more composers than just one of Doom's Mick Gordon, and 5 more than the Doom DLC's Hulshult-Levy collab. So let's see what we're working with here, come on. I was born at a weird in-between time, which meant that God of War was my Doom 2016 before Doom 2016. What does that mean exactly? Well, according to the creative team, the first God of War was meant to, quote, make the player feel brutal, letting their inner beast free and just going nuts, end quote, by being able to do things like, quote, sunder enemies with a single move, such as by ripping them in half, end quote. Wait, did I say that was God of War? I actually was just reading the Doom 2016 Wikipedia page. I'm just kidding, it was the God of War one, but now you know where I'm coming from. Big missed opportunity in the Doom Eternal DLC to walk past a statue of Kratos and have the intern say something like, seems like the kind of guy you'd get along with. But when it comes to the music of God of War, including the second era of Norse mythology, the creative team knew from the beginning that they wanted to make something with big cinematic orchestral vibes. Think Star Wars or the old Clash of the Titans movie. But of course, with an emphasis on tension and simple, aggressive themes, loud brass, loud strings, epic singers. As I said before, and unlike the recent entries in the series, the soundtracks for the first generation of God of War titles were tackled by a collection of composers, one of which, Cris Velasco, also later worked on Borderlands and the Mass Effect franchise, and another composer, Mike Reagan, has credits on the Powerpuff Girls, did the famous Tarzan yell in Disney's movie in '99, and won a Grammy Award for Best Children's Soundtrack, Elmo in Grouchland. Elmo in Grouchland also being the working title for God of War. Anyways, there's a lot of composers, so I'll put their names in the description below. Let's go back to Velasco for a sec. He said something in a 2013 interview that I think still rings true today, even more so now.
That's why you get work. It's because somebody, you make a connection at a dinner, at a bar somewhere, and if you're not weird and you can't expect to be scoring Mass Effect 4 when you're right out of school. You have to do the Barbie game.
I've been thinking about that a lot recently. So, despite being literally multiple people working in parallel, the God of War composers managed to do a great job at merging the setting-appropriate sounds, that is, Greek traditional instruments and ancient-sounding elements, with the cinematic orchestra. That orchestra plays a role as the epic musical narrator, but as you can imagine, it's not exactly a staple of ancient Greek music. Interestingly, the Doom soundtracks do something similar, although to a lesser degree, by balancing sound design specific to a location, like perhaps Urdak, with sick guitar riffs and drum beats. You could say the guitars provide the emotional intention while the sound design anchors the music in the game world. It's interesting to think about how we as listeners prefer to hear those familiar instruments like trombones or a drum kit, even though we know it doesn't perfectly reflect the environmental soundscape. So back to God of War again, one thing I noticed is that not all of those first 3 soundtracks were fully live recorded productions, and I know this because I recognized a little sound from this song. Listen to the men chanting. Well, it turns out I own that sound too. This is pretty typical for soundtrack stuff, though. The key instruments like horns might be recorded live, and then some drum beats and sound effects can get mixed in later since they won't sound as obviously computerized. I feel this way about guitars too, which, hot take, often sound better when played live as opposed to using a guitar VST plugin or contact library. But for all of you non-guitarists and for me, a non-trombone player, the plugins will have to do. You know, this might be the first time ever that I get to take a rhythmic soundtrack with simple themes and cover it in the style of a rhythmic soundtrack with simple themes. It feels weird, but it's also invigorating. Let's pick a song and make it happen. So look, since this video is sort of about the whole trilogy, I spent a ton of time looking through the 3 soundtracks to pick something to start with, and at first I was leaning towards a medley, kinda like my Final Fantasy XIV video, but then, oh baby, I found the perfect song! I'd like to introduce you to The End Begins from God of War 2. This song tries to do one thing, and one thing only, and that is be the biggest, hugest, giganticest God of War 2 song in the whole soundtrack. It's like apocalypse music, and that apocalypse is Kratos, and soon Doom Guy, and this is gonna be perfect. You know that big lead synth that I've been using in like every cover? Well, I'm thinking it's getting kind of stale, so I want to make a new one. Let's design something in Serum right now. I've been into a bunch of retro synths lately, so we're gonna start with this shape based on an old Juno, and then make it a super saw for sure, you know, we'll do like a big mosquito cloud. Gotta add a little noise, cause analog stuff is noisy. Maybe some effects, and... Dang it, I basically made the exact same lead synth sound. My goodness. Is this hell? Am I in hell? Whatever, you know, it sounds pretty good. I'm gonna put the patch in the description below, so if you want to use it, it's there. Okay, let's deal with the Greek choir part. I think keeping the God of War vibe here is the most important part. I thought about taking creative liberties with the staccato melody, but nah, let's just make a dirty synth that can do some of the same articulations as that staccato vocal. Okay, I've got something. It's a little dry, so it needs reverb. Not just any reverb, though. We want digital Hollywood epic reverb! Oh yeah, now we're at the movies! And I'm aware this isn't the most doomy thing to do, but hey, this covers a hybrid. The way we have it now, the synth is kind of like the men's choir, so let's add the octave up for the women's choir. You can't see me right now, but I'm fist pumping in the air right now. So the Doom Eternal soundtrack uses a drum kit quite a bit because it's got a lot of heavy metal, but this God of War song only has like your standard orchestra percussion. That is a bass drum, a marching snare, a concert crash cymbal, and some tonal percussion like an anvil. It's pretty sparse too. You know what I'm thinking. Let's reimagine this song as though it was being played by a metal band. So that means we're gonna need head-bangable drum beats. Oh, speaking of metal bands, while I was making this video, Mick had a chat with the guys from Monuments to create some hype for the new album, and this mixing tip caught my ear.
It changes when working with guitar-based bands because you're writing keys like A or B flat or B or C even, which are not keys that are good for sub-range, because a C is, 32 hertz or something like that, and it's just too low, you just don't hear it. When writing in like E, F, F sharp with a bass guitar, usually I take that bass guitar up an octave, so as you said there, they're kind of playing in unison. And then underneath that, there's a sub, and it's just usually a sine wave or something really, really simple.
Why did he mention the key of E, F, and F sharp? Well, if you make EDM or any kind of bass music, you know that the magic range for fat sub-bass is right there. Any higher bass sounds sound like a loud yawn without the weight, and any lower sounds can't be heard well on a lot of systems. Sadly, this God of War cover is in C. It makes sense because this is more common for orchestral music and piano stuff, but it kinda sucks for me because I want more of that sub. Oh well, we'll do our best. Okay, we're almost done. Let's get a couple of weird noises in there. Oh my goodness, look at this beautiful finished product! I am so ready to listen to this for the very first time because I definitely didn't just listen to it 200 million times over the last 2 days during mastering. You ready? Without further ado, the end begins from God of War 2 in the style of Doom Eternal. Enjoy! So tell me, did you just climb the corporate ladder with the most aggression anyone in your company has ever seen? Let me know in the comments below if you did, and also how you liked the song. If you want to support my work in these videos, as well as get access to deep dives, stems, live streams, or get your music in my videos, or get access to that super secret Discord I have, please consider becoming a patron. These people are already enjoying the benefits, and to them I want to say a gigantic thank you. This deep dive will be available in a few days, so if you're watching this as soon as it was uploaded, no worries, it's coming. My schedule is just a bit wild in September. You can download this song on Bandcamp for free or for any price you think is best, and you can also listen on streaming platforms by checking out the links in the pinned comment below. I have big plans for the upcoming covers, and they're coming real soon, but until then, I've been Geoffrey Day, you've been a true Olympian, and I hope you're back again for the next video. See ya!